what is the project that you can do today to win the day and to move you forward in the direction you want to be?
Welcome to another episode of Swiss Made Success, Stairway to Excellence. Today, I got Dr. Jamil Sayegh. Is an international life, business, and relationship coach, naturopath, physician, master NLP practitioner, and the author of 20 Steps to Your Next Breakthrough. He works with leaders and high performance from all walks of life, including world champion athletes, best-selling authors, entrepreneurs, business professionals, and more to create an extraordinary life without regret. Dr. Jamil, welcome.
Thank you so much, Erid. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thanks to our friend in common, Andres Ruiz, I got you today on the interview, and that's really great. And let's go straight into it. Where are you based now?
So I am in New York, about a half hour north of the city, and excited to be with you guys today. We're going international on today's podcast.
Yes, that's really great. And then we will share this all around the world, YouTube's, Facebook, everywhere.
Yeah.
Right now we have like a pandemic all around the world. How do you think can people deal with this uncertainty, this situation where we don't know what's going to happen? Business like don't know what's going to be in the future. What are your thoughts on this situation? What can people do?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question, and I think it's really timely. And I think that when it comes to what I would call it scary times, when it comes to scary times, whatever that looks like, I think the most valuable thing people can do is take whatever that long-term plan that you might have, that you had before this, and you kind of put that to the side and you start creating more short-term plans, even daily plans. It's like, what is the project that you can do today to win the day and to move you forward in the direction you want to be? Because as you said, nobody knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty. And when nobody knows what's going to happen, keep in mind, nobody ever knows what's going to happen, right? There's always uncertainty. But in times like this, maybe it feels a lot more pronounced. And so in this type of situation, you can get overwhelmed if you sit there and think, oh my God, I have all these plans to do this, this, and this. I don't know what's going to happen. What am I going to do? But then you're not really helping yourself and you're not really helping others. Like there's that metaphor when you get on a plane, if the oxygen mask drops, you want to put it on yourself first because then you can go help others. But if you're trying to hold your breath while you're helping others and then you pass out, you're not helping anybody, right? So in that same kind of way, yeah, there's uncertainty. No one knows what's going to happen. But dwelling on that and letting that overwhelm you not only doesn't help you, but it makes it so you're not really helping anybody else. Versus just get clear. All right, the world's uncertain. There's a lot of stuff going on. And what do I want right now? Like, what's the next step that I need to take financially or in my job or with my family? Like, what do I need to do? Like, I know here in the US, back in April, May, we had this like toilet paper thing. We're like sold out of all the toilet paper, right? So your daily project might be, well, we need toilet paper. So what can I do today to just get this toilet paper? Maybe I got to go to 15 different stores, or what do I have to do? Let me win the day, right? So I use that as an example just because if we're focusing on what can I do today, what's my daily project to get ahead, to move forward, to make progress, and you take it day by day by day, especially in the times that are more uncertain than others, I think that's going to be the right move for everybody.
I've read in some of these books that I'm about self-development, which I'm really passionate about, and I've read your book too. We go into it straight away, and then they say, for example, when they go like to the rehab centers or alcoholics and stuff, the rule is 24 hours more.
Yes.
Like concentrate on these 24 hours. Don't think about you're gonna stop, let's say, drugs for life or the alcohol stop for life. They say concentrate on this day, these 24 hours, and then it's gonna be all right. So makes sense what you're saying.
It's a great analogy, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because when the perspective is, can I just not drink today? Right? As you said, 24 hours. Can I just not drink today? And most people can hear that and say, yeah, I can not do it today, but what about tomorrow? And then their sponsors and all the other people there would say, don't worry about tomorrow. Just, can you not do it today? And they'll say, well, what about tomorrow? And they'll say, well, tomorrow you're going to ask yourself the same question, right? It's like, it's one day at a time. In the same way, if you think about it from this perspective of what can I do right now that would make today a win, that would make, and by your own definition, whatever that means to you, what would make today a win? And when you take that action, you'll find that over the next week, month, 6 months of every day making it a win, regardless of the fact that there was a pandemic, or there is a pandemic, regardless of the fact that economies might be going up and down, regardless of any uncertainty, you're going to be way better off than you would have been if you were sitting in the panic and the overwhelm and you weren't creating a winning day.
Yes, yes. So it's like the micro small habits of every day that make huge success.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know you're big into habits. You wrote the book 20 Steps to Your Next Breakthrough.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've been reading is that you're big into habits, right?
Absolutely.
Can you maybe describe a little how can people help the fact of having habits in order, having the everyday life habits in order?
Yeah. So there's an expression that says, first you make your habits and then your habits make you, And so from that place, habits are things that typically they become habitual. So we kind of condition ourselves to do it to the point where it's almost unconscious. We just do it without even thinking about it. It's not difficult anymore. It's just it's become who we are. It's a part of our day to day. You wake up and let's say you brush your teeth. It's not difficult. You just do it. It's not something you think about. It's just, oh yeah, of course I'm going to do that. It's just part of your thing. But there are people that running 10 miles, that's the equivalent of brushing their teeth. Like that's what they do. There's people that sit down and meditate for an hour. There's people that journal. There's people that do all three of those things. But
Hmm.
it's like whatever it is that you choose to make a habit, just by making the commitment to doing it. And so prior to me kind of diving into it, can you specify the question? I'm not sure if I'm understanding it before I take it too broad.
Yes. For example, what could be some healthy habits which people can concentrate on to
Yeah,
to better their life? Let's say in general, like to have a healthier body, to have a healthier mind, to have better relationships.
yeah, yeah,
What we can start to do small just to get
absolutely. Yeah.
going.
So I think I'll share some big picture habits that I think would be extremely useful for everybody listening, regardless of where they're at in their life. First and foremost, sleep is extremely important, and most people don't get enough of it. And so, one habit would be you go to bed around the same time every day, and you wake up around the same time every day. Ideally, everyone's different, but ideally, it's going to be you're going to bed somewhere in the range of like 9 p.m. to 11, like 9 p.m. to 10:30, somewhere in that range, and waking up somewhere in the range of 5 a.m. to like 6:30. Like that's probably going to be ideal for most people. Not everybody, but most. And that's habit one. You're going to bed and waking up around the same time. But habit two, also around sleep, would be kind of having a digital shutdown where toward the evening, let's say you're going to bed around 9 or 10, around 6 or 7, you start winding down when it comes to the electronics. The TV is off and the computer is off and the phone is off, and maybe you have a book and maybe you have a partner in the house or kids in the house, and you're just hanging out with them. And the reason is because a lot of that and the Wi-Fi, like turning that off. And the reason is because all these electromagnetic fields and the blue light exposure, the artificial light, they start messing with the melatonin, the sleep hormone, and they make it more difficult for you to be able to fall asleep. And so the amount of clients I've had that I suggest, hey, before you go to sleep, turn your Wi-Fi off. And they're sitting there thinking, what's that going to do? But they don't realize that their Wi-Fi router, in some of these people's examples, is in their room.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
their sleep has always been, they wake up multiple times in the night, they wake up tired. I have them unplug the Wi-Fi, then they go to sleep and they wake up and they're like, there's no way that made that big of a difference. So they feel incredible. And so that's the Wi-Fi side of it. But for me, my habit, turning the Wi-Fi off at night, putting my cell phone on airplane mode, while I'm sleeping, but also like an hour or two before I go to bed. And then I personally wear the blue light blocking glasses in the evening. So if anyone is listening to this and can't see what I'm showing, it's like these orange looking glasses. You can go on Amazon and just type in blue light blocking glasses, and that's going to help with that sleep hormone. But as you bring down the electronics in the evening, it's going to make it easier to fall asleep, stay asleep, and you'll get a better night of sleep. And the reason why I'm starting with sleep is because think of that like the foundation. If you're waking up tired, if you're waking up not rested, your energy is lower than it should be, and your health is going to be less than it should be, right? And so sleep is going to be a big one. Another habit, if you're in a relationship, whether you're married or you're dating, when you are with that person, assuming you live together, let's say, before you go to bed, make it a habit every day. Here's 1, 2, or 3 things I appreciate about you. Love your partner, appreciate your partner. Most people want to feel, everybody wants to feel heard, understood, seen, appreciated, loved. And most of the time, even though we do love our partners or our parents or our friends or whoever, we tend to take them for granted, and we don't actually share how we're feeling. So imagine if you're in a relationship, every night you're laying in bed, and before you go to bed, you just acknowledge this person. Thank you so much for the way you supported me today in A, B, or C. It really helped, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for doing that for that other person. You're so compassionate, and that means so much to me for these reasons. Whatever it is, but getting acknowledged in that way, people love that. If you're not with a partner, and let's say you're single, make it a habit of loving yourself, of appreciating yourself. You can just look in the mirror. Hey, let's say I was talking to myself. I'm looking in the mirror, and it might be, hey, Jamil, as the year is winding down, and I reflect on 2020, it's like, I've made so much progress, and a lot of good has happened. And there was hard times, but I overcame them. And there was new habits that I installed into my life that have made such a difference. And I made choices every single day to exercise or to read or to study or to take certain actions or to train certain things. And that wasn't easy. Like, that was something that I chose to do. And I'm so proud of myself for that. And all of a sudden I'm looking at myself in the mirror while I'm saying this. So it's like I'm talking to me. I'm looking myself in the eyes. And I'm now appreciating myself. I'm loving myself. I'm taking a moment to acknowledge how far I've come. That makes a big deal. If you don't want to look in the mirror, you can journal. You can make it a habit of doing that, but allowing the emotions to come out. I think most people, whether it's conscious or unconscious, they habitually suppress their emotions. They don't release what's coming up. And so that over time leads to a lot of emotional disturbances and dysfunction and problems. And it can even lead to physical problems like cancers and things like that. So journaling, you're angry, you're upset, write it out, talk about it with somebody. You're feeling really proud of yourself, talk it out, write it down, feel that, acknowledge that. So I would get into a habit of getting the sleep right. I would get into a habit of appreciating and acknowledging your partner and or yourself or both. I think it could be a really good habit to just make sure simple things. Are you drinking water? Are you drinking enough water for you? Everyone's different, but in general, if you don't have any kidney problems or anything like that, you take your body weight in, I know, you take your body weight in pounds and you divide that in half. And that's the amount of ounces that you should drink in general. If it's hot, if you're sweating and you're exercising like crazy, you probably need more. But again, assuming there's no kidney problems, that's a good thing to do. Drinking enough water, making sure you're eating real food, and listen to your body. Are you eating foods that make you not feel good? Do you eat food and then you get bloated? Do you eat food and then you get brain fog? Do you eat food and then you get headaches? You eat food and you have some type of body reaction. You get constipated, you get diarrhea, you get something. When your body's reacting like that, that's a sign that whatever you just ate, you shouldn't be eating. Like you're either sensitive to it or it doesn't work for you. But most people, they eat foods like that every day. And so making sure that you listen to your body, because there's no right way to eat. There's a right way to eat for you. Everyone's different. Certain vegetables are really healthy for certain people, and you might be sensitive to them, right? So there's not eat these 5 foods and you're good to go. You need to eat real food. That's the first thing and foremost. Don't eat the bagged and packaged and boxed processed food where you look at the ingredient list and there's 50 things with different chemical names and colors and dyes and all that. If you can't pronounce it, if the ingredients to your food isn't food itself, then you probably shouldn't be eating it. And so if you're getting your sleep right, you're getting your water right, you're getting your food right, and then you're loving and appreciating yourself and your partner, that's going to make such a difference. And then get into a habit of moving your body. And moving your body could be anything from going for a walk, which is usually the easiest and one of the most powerful things you could do. But you could be in the water and swim, you could dance. People, you can make it fun. You can go to the gym, you can work out, but some people don't want to lift weights. That's fine. Do whatever you want to do that moves your body, but get into a habit of creating time for yourself, a time for you to maybe go for a walk in nature, a time for you to just sit in the backyard and look at the sky, a time for you to just be with yourself and process your day and get creative and think, what do I want going forward? Most people using that kind of the plane metaphor I used before with mask, the oxygen mask. Most people put their mask on last in the same way that most people put themselves last when it comes to their priorities. So if I ask you to make a list of your priorities, and you're most people, you would say, oh, these are like the 10 things I have to do for work. My kids need me for this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And then I might say, all right, where are you on your list of priorities? And for most people, they look at me with this look of, what do you mean? Like they don't even think that they are a priority in their life. And so if I were to tell you that your meditation, that might be 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour, that's as important as the client that's paying you $10,000. Like it is that important. And if you do it, you'll notice it, because your mental performance will go through the roof, your energy will go through the roof, and you'll show up as a stronger, more capable, more wise version of you. And so again, these are big picture habits that most people will say 2 words that, or 3 words that kind of shoot themselves in the foot, which is, I know that, but the thing is, I know that and I actually live it are 2 very different things. If you don't have the results you want in your life and you're not doing the simple things that I'm sharing, my suggestion is you correct that. You don't have to,
Yes.
but you're a human being. And as a human being, that means there's certain needs that you have. And these needs are not wants. Like these are needs. Like you have to have these things. And if you don't have them, you're going to suffer. Part of disease is you're violating nature's natural laws. Like you're violating what it means to be human.
Yeah.
Adequately hydrate, nourish your body with foods that actually are supportive for your health, sleep, recharge your body, restore yourself, fix yourself in that sense, because your body heals while you're sleeping. Move your body,
Yes.
get outside, get in the sunlight, get fresh air, and then connect with people, connect with yourself, laugh, go deep, and then create time for you to do work that's meaningful for you. Some people have businesses that they run that they're so passionate about and they love. Wonderful. Some people have jobs that they really enjoy. Wonderful. Some people have jobs that they hate and they're doing it just because they're trying to, make some money to pay the bills. And that's cool too, because that job is supporting you to do that. And with whatever free time you do have, if there's something else that you'd rather be doing, well, let's start putting some energy into that. Some over time, over weeks and months and years, you can transition into what it is that you actually want to do. But at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to yourself to feel good, and you have a responsibility to yourself to take care of you. That's physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so I would start with all of those.
That's huge. That's an amazing answer and so much great information. It's, as you already said, many people said, or many people knows what to do, and many times they just don't do it. How do you think we as people can bring ourselves to take action? Because many times that's like the small 2 millimeter rule. Like we cannot motivate ourselves to take action. We already know we should lose weight. We already know we should
Yeah.
go out and meet people, and on and on.
Mhm.
So how do you think, Dr. Jamil, can we take action in our life so we realize our dreams?
Yeah. And so when it comes to somebody who says, I want to take action, but let's say I'm not motivated, right? We're not motivated for a few reasons. One of them is we've lost connection to why we're doing it in the first place. When somebody loses their motivation, it's because they forgot why they're doing it. And they might still know intellectually, but there's a heart knowing. There's like this connection to the heart where, as an example, if you are listening and you're 150 pounds heavier than you want to be, and the mindset is, well, I want to lose weight. Originally, let's say the motivation was you have a child and that child is 4 years old, and in your family, your dad or your mom and other people, let's say they've died young because of heart attacks. And if the perspective is, I want to be there for my kid's wedding, I want to be able to like walk my daughter down the aisle, or I want to be able to be there for my son, or whatever the case may be. I want to play with my grandkids, right? And I don't want to be huffing and puffing because I'm not in shape. I want to be able to do that. That's a really powerful why. And when we connect to that, initially, really easy to like stay motivated, to eat the right stuff, to move the body, to take care of ourselves. But let's say a year goes by or 6 months go by and you've made good progress, but then you kind of plateaued. And you intellectually, you haven't really thought about it, and your kid growing up and the wedding and all that kind of stuff and grandkids, because your kid's like 6 years old, 8 years old, right? Maybe you got disconnected from that. So in the moment, you start eating poorly again, you stop exercising, you stop taking care of yourself, and you start saying, I plateaued, I don't know why, I don't really want to exercise. In that moment, I might say, why are you doing this? And you might say, oh, well, I want to lose weight. Yeah, but why does that matter? And you might say, oh, because I want to be there for my kid. But notice how I'm saying it. It kind of sounds like just nonchalant. It kind of sounds like, oh yeah, I just want to be there for that. But you keep diving into it. And why does that matter? And why does that matter? I've done this with enough people that eventually, when they really start opening up and answering the question, they start crying. They start tearing up. And then they don't need motivation. Like it just happens. It just shows up because they finally reconnected to the heart reason why they're doing it. So first and foremost, there's two ways that I would increase motivation. One, reconnect to why you're doing it, why it actually matters, why it's important. And the second way, if you want to increase motivation, you need to increase desire. And a simple way to increase desire is you get a paper and pen and you write down, by doing whatever this activity is that I'm going to be doing, what are all the ways that I'm going to benefit from this? And then you also say, what are all the ways that the people I care about are going to benefit from this? So for example, let's say I use it like a money example. So let's say it's like let's say what I want to do is I want to really get a handle on my finances, and I want to be able to like put systems in place to manage my money in a way that serves me. And then I want to learn about investing, let's say. And I'm learning, and then maybe I get a little bit overwhelmed because there's too much stuff and I back off. But then I make my list. How will I benefit from learning about investing? How will I benefit from managing my money better? And then I write down all the things. Oh, I'll actually have some money in my savings account. I'll have some money coming in passively. That'll help me, where maybe I work a job that I don't like and I can spend less hours doing that and more hours doing what I do love. Oh, wow, all that would be great. But how will, let's say I have a family, how will my spouse and kids benefit? Wow, my spouse also really doesn't like their job. But if I make more money, then he or she won't have to do what they don't like anymore. Oh, my kids, I grew up poor, let's say, and I don't want my kids to have that life, and I want to be able to give them and provide for them all the things I didn't have. And if I figure out this money thing, I'll be able to really give back to them. And then as we grow up, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, how would life be different? Oh, we'd be able to do family vacations, and I'd be able to take them to here and experience all these wonderful things I never got to experience. And what would that be like? Wow, my daughter and I, maybe we don't have a really great connection, and I know she loves to like ski, and I can't afford right now to take her skiing. But if I had the money, then we could go on the slopes and we do this and we do this, and we would connect and we would laugh and we spend the day together. And I wouldn't have to think about like I have a job that I have to go to, so I can't be with my daughter. I'm making this up, but like, as you can see, when I come back to this moment, I'm going to want to figure out this investing thing. I'm going to want to figure out this money management thing because my spouse is going to benefit. My kids are going to benefit. I'm going to benefit. And then I think about all the charities maybe that I want to donate to. And now I think about specifically which charity, how would they be helped? Let's say it's for kids. What's the look on that kid's face on like Christmas morning, as an example, since that just passed, if like he or she wouldn't have had any gifts, but because I donated money, now this kid gets to open a gift. Or, I wear glasses, and let's say I know what it's like to not have glasses and everything is just blurry. And if I could give 500 kids a pair of glasses, it's like what that would be like and how that would change their life. And all that comes just from me getting my money situation figured out. Part one, we said, remember why you're doing it. Part two, increase desire by getting clear on how you'll benefit and how other people will benefit and get real specific with that.
Okay, all right. Now, looking at your other interviews, I see you talk so passionately, and that sounds so authentic to me. And that's great to hear, to listen, to see. How do you think people can reach their authenticity, who they really are?
Mhm. I think that first and foremost, we live in a world that, for a variety of reasons, we're going too fast. We are, if you visualize like a little dog on a wet kitchen floor and it's like trying to run and its legs are moving really quickly, but it's not really going anywhere. That's what most of us kind of have going on. We are moving really quickly. We're feeling very frantic and it's go, 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 go. But when we slow down and we actually take a moment to recognize, am I happy? Do I actually enjoy what I'm doing? Am I excited for the work that I do, for the ways that I contribute and, give back to the world? And when we slow down, I mentioned before, maybe going on a walk in nature or meditating or praying or just being with yourself and taking a moment to just be in silence. A lot of people are uncomfortable with silence, but the reason is because when you're in silence, you actually hear yourself. The real you starts speaking. And for many people, that's scary because if you've been living a life that is not authentic, if you've been going through the motions and doing what you think is expected of you, and you've been doing what makes other people happy but not you happy, then you sit down in silence with no distractions, like there's no music, there's no nothing, and you just sit there, and then all of a sudden there's a voice that you hear in your head that's like, what are you doing, man? There's a voice that you hear in your head that says, why do we still work here? We've been here for 30 years and every day we hate it. There's a voice in your head that says, why don't you ask that person out? There's a voice that says, why are we still with this person? There's a
Yeah.
voice that says, all these different things. And the thing is, that's for the most part, that's the real us. That's that internal voice. That's that internal compass. It's letting you know something's not right. Or or on the flip side, when you're doing it right, when you are living that authentic life, you sit there in that silence and either it stays silent and it's just peaceful, or that voice comes up and it just says something like, I love my life. The voice says something like, we've come a long way. Something that's more like supportive, empowering, because you're living your authentic self. So just getting clear for yourself. Am I living my life or am I living somebody else's version of my life? And just like we said in the beginning with the pandemic and what can people do, if you know that you're not being authentic, well, one day at a time, one step at a time, get some paper, get a pen, and get really clear. What would an authentic life look like? You maybe you've been disconnected for a long time, so you might not even know. That's okay. There's no reason to beat yourself up for that. You sit with it and you make a list. What could be exciting? What could be fun? What is a way that I would love to serve the world? What's something that I'm really good at that I just have a lot of fun doing, that people get value out of? Then you make your list. And as you're making your list and you're going through it, it's like, well, that sounds like a good idea. And then you just, well, what could I do for that? And you take a step forward in that direction. You might get it right the first try, right being it might just click and it works, or you might try it and it doesn't work out as well, or you try it and you realize, that was fun, but I don't actually want to do that for a living. All right, cool. You just got one step closer to figuring out what it is you do want. It's not a matter of, I have to get it right on the first try, or people get overwhelmed because they make it about like life. They make it about the big picture. They think a year ahead, a lifetime ahead. Just today, like what could you do? Like one thing that I tell people often is create a meaningful life. And they ask me, how do I do that? And I tell them, you create a meaningful life by creating a meaningful day. And you create a meaningful day by creating meaningful moments. And you create meaningful moments by deciding to make a meaningful decision, meaning it moves you closer in the direction that you want to be. When you do that moment by moment by moment, you create meaningful days. And a meaningful day, it's a meaningful day because when you go to sleep at night, you've got this feeling of just like, wow, what a day. You've got this feeling of energy, excitement. Like, I can't wait for tomorrow. Like today was
Yes.
a really good day. Like that type of feeling, Maybe you hit a goal that you had, you completed a project. Maybe you contributed to other people and someone said, hey, you changed my life, or hey, you really helped me, or hey, thank you so much. You made a big difference. And that's like what we all live for. And just like when you do that, you're creating a meaningful day. You do that enough, you create the meaningful week, the month, the year, and you make that meaningful life. But when it comes to the authenticity side of it, the best advice, which some people think is cliche, or I know that, but almost nobody does it, is be you, be yourself. Stop trying to be somebody else. Stop looking at everybody else and seeing what they're doing and thinking, well, maybe I'll be happy if I do that. Like, get clear what makes you happy. Get clear on what authenticity looks like to you. Some people have the resources and, let's say, financially, to be able to say, you know what, I'm just going to quit my job and start this new thing. If that's you, awesome. But it takes courage to do that. And if it's not you, maybe you sit there saying, well, that's great, Jamil. I've got this dream, but I don't have the money. I have a job, or whatever. That's fine. But then we talked about, what are you doing at night? Or if you work at night, what are you doing during the day? Or you're not working 24 hours though. So there's hours that you're not working. Get clear in those hours. What is it that you would be fun, exciting, interesting? What are you curious about? And then you build off that. It might take you a few weeks, a few months, a few years, but you'll be able to transition out of what you don't like into what you do like, as long as you're consistent with it. But if you tell yourself the story, similar to the pandemic thing also, that, oh, you know, this is just the way that it is. I'm stuck in this job that I don't like and I can't do anything about it. Then you're going to end up wasting so much of your time, because you're going to be in that job that you don't like. And then you're going to come home, and the hours that you could be spending really creating the life that you do want, because you're buying into the story of what's the point, you're going to spend that time just, you know, watching TV or watching a movie. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but keeping in mind, are they helping you get where you want to be? And if the answer is no, then you might want to do something about that. And so at the end of the day, that's what I think, you know, getting really clear on what is authentic to you, being yourself moment by moment, and slow down enough to hear that internal voice and check in, because that internal voice knows when you're off your path.
200% true. That's great. And one of the things that I've noticed, and it was also my own experience, when I wanted to change my own life, I had like a hard time when I was like 23, 24. It was when I realized that I could do something about it.
Mm.
That was like a huge revelation to me. So many people don't even know that they can do something about it. As you said before, they just like, they've given up on. And sometimes it's lucky we know somebody that gives us this kind of information. Somebody gets through let's say like a video like this, and then listen to somebody like you and then get some inspiration. But many times it's the unawareness of the fact that we can change that's the biggest trap, I think.
Mm.
All right, so I would like to talk a little about your book. What inspired you to write the book?
Yes. So a lot of the work that I do in my coaching, depending on where somebody's at when they come to me, I really enjoy the deep work. And what I mean by that is really connecting somebody to their true self. You know, we just talked about authenticity, really connecting someone to their true self and helping them create an extraordinary life without regret. And there's a whole background story to that. But the thing is, prior to all that, there's like this momentum that is needed to just get off the couch. There's this momentum that is needed to start before you can create the extraordinary life without regret, before you can really connect to that real you and make the impact on the world that you want to make. You need to get off the couch. You need to actually have some movement in your life. And so when I came up with this idea of the book, 20 Steps to Your Next Breakthrough, it was, how do I help somebody start from zero and get from, you know, static to movement, get into momentum? Because once they get into momentum, the motivation shows up. So this book was designed to be for anyone to get benefit from it, but especially people who are kind of just starting their journey, no personal development background, excuse me. And as they're reading it, it's like, oh, wow, every chapter is short. They're actionable. There's some activities you can do in there, and you can use what you're reading and learning and apply it to your life immediately. And I made it short on purpose. It's like 74 pages or 75 pages, something like that. You can read the whole thing in an hour, or you can decide I'm going to read one chapter, which could be anywhere from 1 to 3 pages, read one chapter a day and act on that chapter. And if you did that, you'd be done with it in less than a month. And if you were to do that, it would really change your life in a beautiful way. And that was the motivation of the book, just getting people into momentum and providing a resource for people who feel like, hey, all those ways you work with your clients sounds great, but that feels so far away from me. And I'm like, all right, so this is what you need to just get started. This is what you need to get into momentum.
That is just amazing. I couldn't stop like the reading. So I would advise anybody who's watching this video, I'll put a link below so they can get the book. If I'm right, it's for free. So
if they want to get the ebook, it's on my website for free. And then if they'd like an audio book version, it's like $7. So it's
yes. So everybody listen to this, go get the book. 20 steps to your next breakthrough.
Thank you, Erid. Yeah, and to answer your other question, how long did it take? So a lot of the book I had written over time, to the point where when I actually decided to put it all together, the majority of it was already written. And so now it was just, all right, tweak it here and there, add certain exercises, do certain things. But I think like anything, once we start and we make the commitment, it actually happens pretty quickly. It's the getting ready to do it. Because I had a lot of things going on at the time when I made that book, and it probably took me, several months to put it together. But in those several months, from an hour perspective, it only took probably a day or two. It's just that I was procrastinating on it. I was doing other things. And so I think that like anything, there's things that you are either afraid to do or things that you're just putting off because you're not as interested in doing it. But once you actually do it, it happens so much faster. The audio version, once I had it written, that took probably 2 days, and it was just getting a couple takes in and making sure that it came through the way I wanted it to. But I hope anyone who's hearing this, the big takeaway, no matter what it is you're working on, no matter what it is you would like to do, you can probably get it completed so much faster than you think it'll take if you actually sat and put your energy into it and did it as a specific set block of time. If you set 45 minutes where I'm just going to do this with zero distractions, my phone's on airplane mode, it's in another room, I've got no one's going to be calling me, and I'm just going to be here, highly focused, no Facebook, no internet, nothing. I'm just going to work. 45 minutes go by, and most people don't work like that. So in 45 minutes, when that little alarm goes off, you will have gotten the equivalent of work done that it would have taken you like 5 hours to do in the past because you've had so many distractions. And so if you do that hyper-focused work and you give yourself that gift, pretty amazing what you're able to create.
I know you're huge on focus because I read the book. So would you like to expand a little on focus? How can we get more focused in this crazy world of distractions?
I think first part of focus is you need to be clear on what it is that you want. If you think about it from a perspective of light, you can have a laser beam or you can have a light bulb. And the difference between the two is the light bulb, the light that it gives off is dispersed. That's why it kind of irradiates from every side of it. You look at the light bulb, you see the light from all of it. And that's nice when you're trying to light the room up. But from the perspective of like intensity of the light, it's weak. A light bulb is not setting anything on fire. But a laser isn't radiating everywhere. It's this highly focused, narrow beam, but it's so concentrated that you point that thing at a piece of paper, and if it's the right kind of laser, like the thing will light on fire. And the thing is, because there's so much energy like generated, right? And so in that same way, get clear on what it is you want to focus on. Most people aren't focused on anything. Or if you want to put it more probably accurately, they're focused on distraction.
Yeah.
And that's not a judgment. That's just me being a mirror. That's me holding it up to you and saying, look at your own life and see if that's true. See if you've got 50 things or 100 things, or it feels like 1,000 things going on every single day. And how many of those things actually matter? And initially you might say all of them. But if you really sit with it, how many of them are really important to you versus how many of them are what you think you're supposed to do for other people? Or how many of them are what you think you're supposed to do so that other people see you in a better light? Or what, this is who I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to do. That's robbing you of your focus. Get clarity, get crystal clear what is it that I want? What's my next step on my journey? And then once you're focused on that, it gets really easy. You just eliminate the distractions and you do what you're focused on. But when you're in distraction mode and you've got notifications on your phone and all these bells and whistles and your computer's binging every time you get an email, and we've got our focus so fractured that, that's why I said you can get done in 45 minutes what it takes most people 5 hours to do. And that's the same thing for each of our lives. You want to get focused, you want to get clear on what it is that you want, why it matters, remind yourself, clear away the distractions, and just do it. And a lot of people think, oh, but I don't feel like it. And they think I need to be motivated first. And they have it backwards. Motivation is a result. It's not a requirement. You don't need to be motivated if you want to go for a walk and you wake up and you say, I don't feel like it. Well, that's typically, for most people, going to result in you not going for a walk, which is a problem if your goal is to go for a walk, right? Because you're just not doing it. But what if you just put your shoes next to your bed and you woke up in the morning and you say, I don't feel like going for a walk. And you keep saying that, but as you say it, start putting your shoes on. And as you're tying your shoes, you're like, I really don't feel like going for a walk. I really don't want to go for a walk. And then just go outside as you're saying it. And be halfway down the block and you're still saying, I don't want to go for a walk. At some point, you're like, all right, I'm on a walk. I might as well enjoy it. And you're on the walk. And then you come back and you go, wow, I'm proud. I went for my walk. I feel good. Like I'm proud of myself. Or like it was good weather outside, or it was sunny, or I saw some neighbors and they waved and I put a smile on someone's face. So whatever the case may be, my point is that once you start something, you get momentum. If you say, I don't really feel like cleaning my room because it's a mess everywhere, and you just say, let me stop focusing on big picture, on everywhere, and let me look at one small corner of the room, or let me look at just my desk, or let me look at one side of my desk, and let me just arrange that. I'll set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll just clean for 5 minutes. What ends up happening more times than not is you do it for 5 minutes, and you go, well, I already started, so then you just keep going. And then at the end, and you get momentum. And at the end of the process, you feel really good about the fact that your room or your desk or your car or your whatever is clean. And it's not a matter of do you feel like it. People who are not successful in the eyes of society from a financial perspective, from a career perspective, it's because they only do things when they feel like it. It's like, and it's not saying necessarily that you need to do things you don't want to do. That's not what I'm saying. A lot of people believe that. It's more along the lines of, notice that if you wake up in the morning and you say, I want to go for a walk, but then you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it because the way you're representing it in your mind, meaning there's a story you're telling yourself about the walk. Oh, it's cold outside, or it's raining, or my neighbor is down the street and we got into an argument and I don't want to walk by that person. It's not that you don't want to walk, it's that there's some story you're telling yourself that's making it seem like it's more of a pain than it is.
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to clean my desk because there's so many papers and it's going to take forever. And you tell yourself that story so you don't feel motivated to do it. But you could tell yourself a different story, and all of a sudden the same task seems more enjoyable, or it seems easier to do. And so it's not a matter of force yourself to do things you don't want to do. It's change the story that you're telling yourself about the thing so you actually either want to do it or you're at least neutral about it. And from that perspective, do it first. The motivation comes later. Do it first. The momentum comes after. And so that's a big thing. A lot of people say, I want to go to the gym. And they always say, I feel so much better after the fact. I feel so good that I went. I feel great in my body. I feel great in my mind. I feel proud of myself. But when they woke up, maybe they were hitting the snooze button 5 times and they didn't want to go. But they're always happy about it after. So ask yourself, will I be proud of myself, or how will I feel about this after the fact? After this is done, how will I feel? And if you're like, I'll actually feel really good when this is done. I have clients that tell me they've got their to-do list of 100 things and they don't know where to start, so they don't. So then what happens? They keep their 100 things, or it even becomes more because they add to it. And now they feel just like they're buried in a mountain of stuff. They feel like they're overwhelmed versus, I don't know where to start. I'm just going to pick 5 things. I'm going to pick one thing, and I start doing it. And before you know it, 1 thing's done, 5 things are done, 20 things are done, 50 things are done. The mountain's gone. And I go, oh my God, that feels so much lighter. The weight of the world's off my shoulders. I'm not stressed out anymore about this. So now if you know that's how you're going to feel at the end, then just start now so you can get that feeling faster.
Yes. Amazing. It sounds like it's a decision, like being focused and getting started, right? It's like a small decision. Get going.
Everything is a choice. Everything is a decision. Notice that for everyone who's listening, your life is the way that it is because of the decisions that you make and the decisions that you don't make. And there's no exception to that. It's just actually the only exception, you're born with like a genetic disease or something like that. All right. So in that case, that wasn't your decision. But outside of something like that,
Yeah.
for all practical purposes, your life is the way that it is because of the decisions you make and you don't make. If you're sitting here listening, saying, I don't like certain aspects of my life, all right, what are you doing about it? What decisions are you making to get yourself out of that? And again, we talked about it. Those decisions might take time to manifest. If you're transitioning a job or you're doing something like that, this might take months, this might take years, but are you moving forward? Are you making progress? Or are you just talking about it? Are you just, complaining about it? Are you just sitting because indecision is a decision. Not making a decision is a decision.
Yeah.
And if you don't like where you're at, oh, my relationship isn't in a good place. Okay, what are you doing about it? How are you communicating? How are you speaking to your partner? Oh, it's abusive. Are you choosing to stay? It's like there's all these things. Are you choosing to see a therapist? Are you choosing to get counseling? Are you choosing to do whatever? Oh, I don't like the way my body looks. Are you seeing a nutritionist? I don't have the money. Are you going on the computer and looking for free on YouTube videos? Are you reading books that you can get for free? Are you going to the library? Like there isn't an excuse with the internet because almost all the information is there. I want to lose weight. I don't know what exercise routine to do. Forget about that. Go for a walk. Like it doesn't matter if you know the best way to work out your bicep. Like go for a walk first and you'll figure out the bicep thing. But when people get stuck on the little details of I don't know how, they don't do anything. Like you make a decision and you choose, I'm going to get help. I'm going to look into this. Somebody tells me for the last 20 years, let's say financially, I've been poor. And I might say, okay, and what have you done about that? And they might look at me confused, like, what do you mean? Like my job doesn't pay well. Yeah, I hear you. But when you make money, what do you do with it? Oh, like I spend it. It's like, all right. So what books have you read or what free videos have you watched or what mentors have you looked for who can share with you how to actually manage your money, how to save your money, how to invest your money, how to manage your money in a way that at the end of the month, you still have money left over, and they'll say, I haven't done any of that, but why not? And most of the time it's what you said before. They just don't even think about it. They're kind of unconscious about it. So step one is get conscious about it. Step one is start asking questions. Start asking, well, how can I fix this? What can I do about this? There's a situation here that I don't like. How do I change it? What's my next step?
Yes.
And you might say, I don't know. Open up Google. How do I do X?
Yes.
You might not get the right answer, but you'll get a answer. It's a starting point.
Gets you closer.
If you're 150 pounds overweight and you have no idea how to like physically shift that, and you type in how to lose weight, what foods do I eat to lose weight? What exercises do I do to lose weight? That doesn't mean that you're going to find this perfect program for you on page 1 of Google by doing that. But it does mean if you've got no idea, then that's going to make a big difference. For me, for example, I remember I spent 5 years in medical school in Arizona. And when I was over there, I graduated and I remember my mom came to visit for graduation. And she loves like antique stores and all those vintage kind of shops. And I didn't know that right down the street from the school, there was this giant kind of like warehouse type of store of all these like antiques. And so like, oh, I'll take her there. She'll love it. So as it's like, she's like a kid in the toy store, she's running around, she's looking at the whole thing. And my eyes get caught on, there's a bookshelf in the corner. And I'm a big reader and I say, oh, wow, I wonder what's over there. And I find this book on finances that I've actually heard about for years that I've wanted to read, and it was $1. And I go, oh my gosh. And she's doing her thing for like an hour. So I just sat with that book for an hour and I'm looking through it and I'm like, I need to buy this. So I buy it and the book lays out, here's a way to structure your finances. I did that. It was the greatest thing I ever did, like with my money. And it made it so wonderful. That was $1. And you can get that book online for free if you Google it, or
Do you
you could find
do you
a
remember
YouTube
the
video
book's
of it.
name?
Yep, it's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by a
Amazing.
guy
Yeah.
named T. Harv Eker.
T. Harv Eker, yes, I know the
I
guy.
think it's at least like 20 to 40 years old. It's somewhere in that range. But the point being, there's YouTube videos of the guy who does workshops, and the video is like 3 hours long, and you can learn like 80% of what's in the book just in that 3 hour video. Why aren't you watching it? And it's like, because you don't know it exists. But why don't you know it exists? And this is nothing to do with blame or shame or judgment or any of that. This is me loving you enough, everyone who's listening, to open your eyes, like wake yourself up to, what don't I like about my life? What isn't at the level I want it to be? Like, where I'm raising my standard now. This is the acceptable level. So what do I need to do to get there? Well, I don't know how to do X. Great. Google it, YouTube it, read a book on it, look it up. A week later, a month later, you'll know how to do it. And then you can start putting the things into place. And your life changes so fast and beautifully when you do. But when you sit in the I don't know how, you're in that indecision. Because I don't know how, well, the next logical step is, do I want to find out? Do I want to choose to look into it? Or do I want to just sit with the fact that I don't know how and look at the people who figured it out and tell myself a lie that, oh, they were just, lucky, or they're just, more fortunate than I am. Most of those people didn't know it either. Like, they learned it. Someone just told me the other day, she said, oh, I'm helping her with sales. And she says, oh, I wish I could just go back to doing what I'm good at, because I'm not good at this stuff. And I told her, how did you get good at what the stuff you're good at? And she starts laughing and she's like, I practiced it. Yeah, like that's always the answer. Like, put time and attention on what it is that you want to get good at. Practice it.
Yes.
You don't look at somebody who plays the piano, who plays it and they're incredible. And you don't look at that person who's like 30 or 40 years old and say, wow, I wish I was born with that skill. You might say that, but you're bullshitting yourself. Yeah. Excuse the language. At that point, if you were to ask them, tell me about your piano like career, and you find out they've been playing the piano for like 20 years. You find out that they started playing when they were 6. You find out that they spend like 3 hours a day practicing the piano. It's like, are you really going to lie to yourself and deceive yourself and say it's just a skill that you weren't born with? Nobody's born with that.
Talent. It's talent, they say.
Yeah. Talent is, focus on the skill. Skill is what you can develop. When people, oh yeah, they were born with that. How does that help you? When you say, oh, this person was born like that, then that implies that you weren't born like that. Therefore, you can't do it, which disempowers you. And it makes it so you don't actually try, because you tell yourself, what's the point? I wasn't born with that.
Yes.
Everything that you want to learn, you can learn. Everything. Like, if I ask you right now, Erid, do you speak Japanese?
Not at all. Like, just ni hao. Something like
so.
No,
Yeah, so as an example, for
really.
anyone who's listening, and if anyone is listening does speak Japanese, pick a language you don't speak. But for the example, if I say, do you speak Japanese?
No.
And you say no, well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not focused on it. I'm not interested really. And
yeah. And so notice, I'm not focused on it. I'm not interested in it. Not, I wasn't born with that skill set. Not like I'm not that kind of person. No, like, anyone can learn it if they want to, if they choose to. If you say, I'm going to open up my phone and get one of those language apps, and I'm going to study Japanese every day, and I'm going to find some Japanese people, and I'm going to say, hey, let's be friends, and can I speak Japanese to you? And you're going to just like let me know and be my sounding board, because it's like immersion. When I'm with you, don't speak to me in English. It's like, I'm going to go to Japan and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to learn it. And I'm going to put myself in a position where if I can't read that sign, I'm not getting home. necessity has a way of you figuring it out. And so my point being, if you wanted to learn Japanese enough, if I told you right now you have 1 year to become fluent in Japanese, most people would say, I can't do that. But if I were to say, regardless of what your job is, all of your free time, which might be 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 8 hours a day, whatever that is, if all of your time went into learning Japanese, if all of your time went into watching Japanese TV shows with subtitles, if all of your time went into going on Facebook and joining like language groups, and you find people that are also wanting to learn Japanese and you practice with them over Zoom calls, in a year, you would be fluent in Japanese. You could do that, and you could do that with anything.
Or
And
imagine somebody told you get $10 million if you learn Japanese in 1 year.
Exactly. Would you tell me, I can't do that? Or would you say, F that, I'm going to find a way to make this happen? And it's like, you find a way. And so it's like, but it's the same with anything. Like, you don't have what you want because you don't really want it. Because if you really wanted it, you would figure it out. And that's not, and again, it's never a judgment thing.
Yeah.
Like anytime someone says, because it's either, in the physical world, there is a time delay. If I say I want $10 million, then the next question might be, all right, so what do I need to do creating value in the world to earn $10 million? And now let's say I come up with the idea, and let's say it's a product or it's a service, and I start putting it out there. And let's say it's been 2 years. Let's say I've made 1.5 million. Okay, the remaining 8.5, it's coming, right? So it's not that I don't want it because I don't have it yet. Like, I've won it, I've decided, I've chosen it, and now there's just a time delay because that $10 million just takes some time, right? But it's different to say, I want $10 million, and I say, how long have you wanted that? And you say, 10 years. And I say, what have you done about it? And you say, nothing. I'm just kind of waiting for the $10 million to show up. You don't want it. You're just telling yourself you want it, because want is backed up with action. Yes. If it's not backed up with action, it's just a wish. And a wish doesn't change your life. And so if anyone's listening, and I encourage you to listen to this podcast several times, like take notes, like go through it. Don't just listen and say that was good information, because that's useless. You waste your time if you do that. Listen and say, what's the one thing I can apply? We might be 2 minutes into this podcast and I said something, or Erid said something that really sparked you, and then you just pause it. Go act on that. And then come back and hit play again. And you'll find 50 things that you could do if you just, and I don't, what I'm about to say, I don't say it from an ego place. It's not because it's me. This could be anybody. But the topics that we're discussing are really important. You could just listen to this podcast and do nothing else, and you'd be successful. And it's not because I'm so great. It's because everything that you've shared, that I've shared, it's real stuff. And it's how you actually get the life that you want. It's how you get unstuck. And so when someone says, I listened to this podcast, but my life didn't change, what did you do with what you learned? It's not, listening is not enough. You read the book, that's great. What do you do with what you read? Mm-hmm. Reading is only step one. When I read that Secrets of the Millionaire Mind book, reading it didn't do anything for me. It was reading it, learning the way he talks about managing money, and then actually making like 8 bank accounts and doing it the way he talks about. When I did that, that made a big difference in my life.
Yes.
Action, you always take action. Most people are really rich on knowledge and they're really poor on action. And then they wonder why their life doesn't change. And they back it up with, I know that already, which again is a lie, because if you're not doing it, you don't know it. And you're just like, you're familiar with the idea, but you don't embody it. You don't live it. Or you tell yourself the story of, other people, they're lucky or they're fortunate or they had all the breaks and I don't. They were born that way and I wasn't. So you're disempowering yourself with your language, with your stories, with your beliefs, with your thoughts. And then you don't take action. And then your life doesn't change. Your life can be dramatically different 5 minutes from now by you choosing to be, because you are under no obligation to be the same person that you were 5 minutes ago. You choose who you are, who you want to be, moment by moment by moment. Most of us do that unconsciously. This is who I've been. So I keep being that same version of me. But you don't need to do that. That's not a requirement. That's a choice. When you recognize that and you choose differently, it's absolutely incredible how different your life can be. Different clients of mine, they come to me with, I want to grow my business, I want to make more money, my relationship's falling apart, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled. And I aim to give them quick wins early on. Like, here's do this, do this, do this. And it's only been a week. And we have our next session and they tell me, my whole life feels different. Like, they tell me, like, I feel like my stress melted away. I'm smiling more. I actually feel happier, because I wanted them to get some fast, powerful change to build that momentum so that we can keep building on it, right? They're like, wow, this is working. It's exciting. But when someone sees how quickly they can make a change and what that change can mean for their life, it's incredible. Every one of us is so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. You're so much bigger than anything that can happen to you, which is why, bringing it full circle, we started talking about, the pandemic. And it's like, no matter what's going on in the world, it doesn't really matter what it is. No matter what is going on in the world, you can still win. No matter what's going on in the world, somebody's going to win. Why not you? You can still get crystal clear what's going on, what do I want, and how can I position myself, reposition myself, do whatever I got to do to still get where I want to be. What do I need to learn? What skill do I need to develop? What action do I need to take? And you ask yourself that over and over and over again. And if you just do that, it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside world, you win every time. But if you tell yourself these stories that aren't going to help you, you stay stuck. And then your whole life goes by. And then you look back and you think, I wonder if my life could have been different. You look back and you think, maybe if I made a different choice like 40 years ago, maybe when that opportunity came up to ask that person out that I really liked, maybe when that opportunity came up to move to a new location to take that job that really excited me, but I didn't take it because the other job that I hate pays more money. And I chose to stay with that, right? And it's like, maybe my life would have been different if I did that. If I could say anything, get clear on what really excites you. Excites you not from like a pleasure perspective, that's part of it, but excites you in like a spiritual perspective, a heart perspective, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You're like, it's like a kid in a candy store. It's like, I want to do that. Like, that resonates with my heart so much. Like, that feels exciting. That feels fun. Choose that. Step into that. And if you kept doing that, watch your life change in a dramatically beautiful way. And there's people that tell themselves stories. If I did what excites me, I wouldn't make any money. And it's like, really, why is that? Because there are people making a lot of money doing pretty much everything. Why not you? There's people who love Snoopy, the cartoon, and they make YouTube videos about Snoopy, and the Snoopy population of the world watches their stuff, and they get paid like $15,000 a month from YouTube ads. Like, there's ways to do it, no matter what you're passionate about. If you're really passionate about it and you love it and you're good at it, people will pay you for it. There's a market for it. There's somebody there who wants what you do, but they don't know you exist because you're not showing them. You're not radiating your light. You're not doing the things that resonate with your heart. And that's why you're not happy. That's why you might be making money, but you're miserable. That's why you might be unfulfilled in your career, even though you have all the things that society says you should have. You might have the house, you have the car, you have the family, you've got this, but inside, you're like dead inside. Inside, there's a void. And then you try to fill it with addiction and distraction and gambling and all these other things. They're all distractions. None of them bring happiness. They only bring pleasure, which is short term. Happiness comes from inside you. And happiness comes from you living life on your terms, from you living a life that's authentic to you. Happiness comes by you being yourself and creating a meaningful life that's meaningful to you and for you. And just by doing that, the car can be gone, the house can be gone, the money can be gone, and you've got all the happiness in the world.
It's all about decisions. That's huge. What makes you so passionate about your job?
I really love people. And when I see people light up and come alive and start actually making the difference in the world that they're meant to make, it is the most fulfilling and gratifying feeling, I've ever had. A couple weeks ago, one of my clients, he came onto the call, and we've been working together for about, I want to say we're in our third month, and we're doing 6 months of work together. And he gets on the call and he just starts telling me about his life and the way it's impacting his family and how he's so much better of a man, of a provider, of a leader, of all these different aspects of his life. And he's tearing up as he's telling me. And he's just telling me, my life is so different. Like, thank you so much. And he's the one who did it. I just facilitated. I was a partner. He did the work. At the same time, getting to be a part of that and getting to get messages like that. Like, I've been doing this for 16 years now. And so getting messages like that, it wasn't always like this, but over the last, several years, getting messages like that, like daily, weekly, it makes this work so fulfilling. It makes it where, there's that expression, maybe you didn't change the world, but maybe you changed somebody's world. But by me helping somebody to really change their world, they go out and they make an impact on the world, and that impact has a ripple effect, because everyone that, just like in the same way that you decided to do this podcast, and when you decided to create this podcast, you've had people on, myself and everybody else that you've had on, and when people listen to you, whether it's from you or from the guest, they might hear something that changes their whole life, and then they go out and they create something really beautiful and they impact all these people, and you might not even know that it's because of you. It's because you started this whole domino effect, right? In that same way, I think about my current clients, my past clients, and I think about the impact that we've had together and the impact that they're having on the world. And it's incredible to think that just by doing what brings so much happiness and joy to me, I did this for free for 12 or 13 years. And I do it because I love it. But I've also cultivated it as a skill. I wasn't born like this. Like, this over 1,000 books I've read on this. There's 16 years of trainings and courses and thousands of hours of videos and all these things that I put into it. So it's not just, oh, lucky him, he figured it out. Like, I worked at it. And every one of us can do that too. You don't have to do what I do, but you have a difference that you can make in this world. And every one of us has that. But you can only really make it when it's the unique difference that you're here to make. And you know what that is, because it's what excites you. It's what that thing that you would do it for free. It's that thing that fills you up when you do it. It energizes you. I have a whole day of clients, and at the end of that day, I'm ready to go again. Like, I'm not tired. Like, I get enlivened by that, And then I think about, you mentioned about the passion. I think about the future, and I think about the clients that are to come, and the lives that I'll be able to partner with, and the impact that they're going to make. And I think about, who do I need to be able to be ready for those clients whenever they, hear about me, reach out to me in the future. And that gets me excited to keep getting better. And so then I'll read, 50 more books. I'll take 3 more courses. I'll watch all these videos. I'll get trained and certified in different things, because I know that while I'm reading that book, while I'm doing that certification, while I'm watching that video, whatever it is, whatever I just learned, there's going to be a person who reaches out to me a month from now or a year from now. And because I learned this, I'm going to be able to help them change their life. I had someone reach out to me 2 months ago and tell me that if it wasn't for our work together, he would have killed himself. And I remember what it was that we worked on. And I had learned what we worked on like 2-3 months prior. And if I didn't learn that, he might have been dead. And this guy is a big time person, and he makes a lot of impact in people's lives. And it's just like, wow, there's so much meaning behind every one of these decisions that we all make, but in this case for me, that I make, with what am I going to spend my time doing? My mission in life is to help as many people as possible create that extraordinary life on their terms without regret, but to also end suffering for as many people as possible, because pain is a fact of life, but suffering is optional. Suffering is more in the mind. It's based on how we look at it. It's the stories we tell. And so it's the resistance that we have and things of that nature. And so that is a big driver of, why I'm so passionate about it, coupled with, when I was 19 years old, my dad had a brain aneurysm. And for anyone who's not familiar, think of it like one of the blood vessels in the brain balloons out. And if you're unfortunate, like my dad was, it ruptures. He was in a 4-hour brain surgery. He comes out of the brain surgery and he was in a coma. And we were told that he was very likely not to survive. But if he did survive, he probably would never wake up. And he could still die at any moment. And he survived, but he was in a coma. And I walk into that room after his 4-hour surgery, and I had this immense feeling of regret, this feeling that I didn't know my dad the way that I could have. I took him for granted. He was 49, I was 19. And there was this feeling that I messed up, like I wasted this opportunity and I might not ever get that chance again. And he survived another 3 years before he passed away. And in those 3 years, every day I didn't know I was going to have 3 years. Every day, all I knew was I had today. And so every day I focused on living that day to the fullest and loving him and being with him and getting to know him and having fun with him and creating experiences with him as well as I possibly could. And during those 3 years, I met a lot of people who were both younger, teenager, 20, 30, 40, and 70, 80, 90 older. And both sides of the spectrum. The older crowd would say, I really wish I could live my life over again and do it differently. And they weren't happy. And I saw so much regret in their face. And then I would speak to younger people, and they would not be happy with what they're doing, but they felt like because they were already doing it for a couple years and they were kind of already deep into it, that they couldn't stop. And they felt like, well, I'm already in it. I might as well stay till I retire. And in my head, I'm like, you're going to stay for 3 or 4 more decades because you are just afraid to change now? And I realized so many people are living lives like that. There's a quote by the Dalai Lama where he says, most people live as if they're never going to die, and then they die having never really lived. And I see most people doing that. And after my dad passed away, there was a knowing that I had been playing small and that I cared way too much about what other people thought about me, that I was afraid of rejection. And that from that place, it was like this never again moment. It was, I am going to really live my life. I'm going to do what makes me happy. I'm going to shine my light. We all have that divine spark within us, and I'm going to radiate what's mine to radiate, and I'm going to be me. And there's certain people that are going to hear me and not resonate at all. That's cool. There's somebody else for them. But there's certain people that hear me and say, I want to work with this guy. I want to watch this guy. I want to learn from this guy. And because of the work that I've put into it, I'm able to support them. And if I can help anyone get to the end of their life, no matter when that is, and feel like, what a life, like what a journey, that was incredible. I used everything I had. Like that was amazing. There's an expression that comes to mind. It's like a picture. And regardless of whether or not somebody believes this, it's just, take it for what it is. It says something like, when I die and I go to heaven and I meet God, I want to be able to say, I used up everything you gave me. Not, I have so much left in the tank because I lived so cautiously and I played so small and I never took any chances and I never did any of these things I really would have enjoyed. When you go to bed at night and your head hits the pillow, if I told you you're not waking up tomorrow, can you fall asleep at peace? Or are you gonna try to stay up the whole night and then pass out eventually, worried about the fact that, oh my God, I'm young, I wanted to do all these things and I didn't do them. Like, stop living like you're never gonna die. That doesn't mean live scared. The certain Buddhist monks have a tradition that they keep a skull next to their bed. And the reason is because it reminds them of their own mortality. And when you know that you're going to die, that it's inevitable, it doesn't mean you want to die, but when you know that you're going to, the fear of death leaves you. When you fully accept, yes, I will die, and I don't know when, but what I do know is I'm alive now. So what am I going to do with that? And so from that perspective, and I choose to live today, it's not until you really overcome the fear of death that you can actually learn to live.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And I want to remind everybody who's watching this that Dr. Jamil has hundreds of videos all over social media. Maybe can you tell us where they can find you specifically?
Yeah, 3 primary places: Instagram, Facebook, and my website. If you go on Instagram, it's just at Dr. Jamil Sayegh, which is at DrJamilSayegh. And as Erid mentioned, there's like 450-ish videos, there's blog posts, there's original quotes, there's all these things that you can get tremendous benefit from. I make sure these videos are short. So they're anywhere from 40 seconds to a minute and a half on average, 2 minutes on average, because just like the book, I wanted it to be, you got no excuse. You can watch this and that 1 minute can change your whole life. That 1 minute can give you a perspective shift that shifts the whole course of your day. And I've had people tell me that pretty much on a daily or weekly basis, which is why I keep making them, because I know they're making an impact on people's lives. Facebook, you can just check me out at my name, Jamil Sayegh. The content mostly the same on both of those platforms. And then on my website, if someone's interested in having a conversation and seeing if or how I can support you, that would be another thing we can do. It's just jamilsayegh.com. And then the other thing is, for all the guys that are listening, me and 2 of my partners, we have a men's group, and it's called Real Results Academy. And if you go on Facebook, it's a free Facebook group, Real Results Academy. I'll approve you if you apply. And the whole idea is it's a place for men to come together to really share authentically, vulnerably, a space to really be themselves in a way that maybe they don't think they can be in the world. It's a place for them to contribute to each other and to learn how to create the results they want most in their business, their relationships, and their health. So for all the guys out there who want more of like a group experience, we have that. And for all the men and women who are looking for more of a personalized one-on-one approach, and they're interested in resonating with my message, I'd be more than happy to speak with you. You can just reach out on my website at jamilsayegh.com or message me on Instagram or Facebook.
I'll make sure to put all the links below so people can reach them directly. And Dr. Jamil, I want to thank you one more time for being here with me. And you share huge value for everybody of us. And once again, people go get his book, 20 Steps to Your Next Breakthrough. It's free. It's amazing. Dr. Jamil, I wish you an amazing day still. You're 6 hours behind, so to you it's still day. To me, it's already night. And it was a great time. It was a great time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, Happy New Year. And please, take everything we said to heart and know that next year can be completely different than this year. Regardless of what happened this year, regardless of what happened yesterday, regardless of what happened right before you heard this podcast, you have the choice. And make that choice wisely. And if you don't like what you're choosing, no choice is final in the sense that you can always make another choice.
Thank you one more time, and I'll see you in the next interview with the Swiss Made Success Stairway to Excellence. Thank you, Dr. Jamil.
Thank you.
Please write down in the comments below what was your biggest takeaway from this interview. And if you're working on yourself, on your self-esteem, on your inner confidence, on your social skills, on your video presence, I offer one-to-one coaching and consulting sessions. Go on my Facebook page and write me a message or send me an email at eridmusic@gmail.com. And on Facebook, on my page Erid, on the review session, you can see what people say about my coaching. Jerry says, Erid is a nice and reliable person with great people skills. I definitely recommend him as a coach. Or Brett says, I was trying to improve my confidence and Erid helped me with this. He helped me to see that I have already achieved many things. I found Erid to be friendly, supportive, and encouraging. Thank you, Erid, for your time and your guidance. All the best, Brett, Australia.